Hello and happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL, and I am here with Jamie Moran, aka the Elusive Gamer, aka Mr. Mass Effect. How you feeling, Jamie? Welcome back, brother.
Hey man, I'm good. Happy to be here. It's been a good week of gaming. I'm in a bit of a mood because I lost a lot of stuff in Arc Raiders last night. But outside of that,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, I lost yellow rated weapons.
Oh
It
no, that's
happens.
devastating.
But other than that, it's been a good week. Lots of cool games out. You've been playing lots of Dragon Quest, which I'm really liking at the minute.
I was
Dragon
going to
Quest One or
ask you
Two.
about that because I saw you posting about it. Are you enjoying it? Because I thought about buying it, but it's just one of those things that if I buy that game, when am I going to play it? Like I'm playing like so many games right now, it's egregious.
It's a weird one because like if you like old school style JRPGs, like
And
one
I
and
do.
two HD 2D remake, it's a throwback to the past. Because the original games, but remade in that fancy 2D HD engine. They're just good. There's lots of quality of life improvements. You can basically save whenever you want, kind of. There's lots of difficulty modes. It's just it's just fun, you know. I haven't played an old school JRPG like that in a long time. If you like the old Final Fantasy games, because I never played the original Dragon Quest games, so like this is new to me. But they're very much just like old school style Final Fantasy games. They're fun, easy to get into. I recommend them. They're really good. The weird thing is they haven't been. Most people don't know about this because if you haven't played the originals, you don't know. They actually out in a weird order. So, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake came out last year. That's actually the first one, right? And then one is set after 3, and then 2 is set after 1. So, if you want to get into them, start at 3.
All right,
But I
that's
recommend
fair.
them.
Yeah, well, listen, they look phenomenal. Again, if you're I do like that recommendation. If you're an old school graybeard and you like the turn-based RPG stuff, you're probably going to dig it. Yeah, it looks good. Now we are awaiting Infinite Umbra. Hopefully, he does show up and he didn't fall asleep because look, folks, like I said, we love to have him here, but sometimes he works midnights and he comes home exhausted. So if we get him in here, we're going to obviously have a bit of a longer show. We do have 3 topics on tap to get into. So we're gonna kind of expand a little bit on the Sarah Bond interview from yesterday. I think she kind of sets up what the identity of next generation is going to be and who it's actually for. Like again, I think her doubling down on explaining how their core audience, which is us, want to continue to play on console. I think that there are going to be more consoles. This is now the sixth or seventh time that they have talked about it. And yesterday, when with Fuzzy Belvedere, I kind of broke down why I think that we could be getting a peek into what the hardware looks like. And again, I don't know whether it's the OEM, which is the partner device, and that's a rumor, or they're going to pull a big cat out of their bag, so to speak, and show off what the hardware is potentially going to look like at the Game Awards. I think something is happening. I don't know that for a fact. I have not heard anything at all. I just think that they keep talking about it, and there's a lot of people in the chat yesterday that were saying, well, why do they keep talking about hardware that isn't coming out until 2027? But is it though? Right? Like, that's what we hear, but that hasn't been confirmed. So we're gonna get a little bit into that, but Jamie Moran, let's open up with this Steambox 2.0 conversation. Now, in the show notes, I sent you a bunch of things regarding a new program that was announced a week before the Steambox, right? And that's called Xbox PlayFab. Now, if you're not familiar with what it is, let me break it down for you, folks. Okay. So Microsoft last week introduced something called PlayFab Game Saves. It's a new service to enable cross saves and cross progression between Xbox consoles and Steam, which is currently in a limited preview. The system is designated or designed to make it easier for developers to implement seamless cloud saves across different platforms, connecting player progress to the game rather than a specific device or platform. The service is available for free for developers with games on Xbox's ecosystem, though pricing will be announced later for games not a part or at least on Xbox. Now, here are some of the key details, right? So, again, this is just for the TLDR, if you will. Cross platform integration. The new system is specifically designed to synchronize save files between Xbox consoles and Steam. It's, according to the report, developer focused. It's a developer tool to simplify the implementation of cross platform save features, making it easier to offer seamless progress across multiple devices. Player experience. Players will be able to seamlessly continue their progress on different platforms without the complexity of manual save and its file management system. So if you're playing on your handheld, you're literally going to stop, go somewhere else, and pick it up there. Your save and your progression are going to be there. I think that this is incredible. Now, I don't know how many people are going to use it. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this chat right now thinking exactly what I'm thinking. Like, oh, snap, that's pretty dope. Playing your TV, playing your console, playing your handheld. You go on the road, you take your handheld with you. Everything is following you. This is dope. Well, there are two more key points here, according to the report. Availability. The feature is currently in a limited preview. It will be available for free to developers of games within the Xbox ecosystem. And I think that is cool. So if you want to take advantage of it and your game is coming to Xbox, then you're going to be able to use this tool for free. And this is going to be a big deal because when you can put on your game or when you list your game and it says play anywhere or cross saves or cross platform, that is going to be a determining factor and has been a big piece of the conversation within the community about even myself. Like I actively am now looking for games that specifically say that they're play anywhere, because if they're play anywhere, Jamie, that means I can use them on my handheld that I just bought. And lastly, it says future expansions. Microsoft has stated that while PlayFab Game Saves currently supports Xbox and Steam, it's likely to expand to other platforms in the future. That's very interesting. This so again, Jamie, this is big news. And so I'm going to have to ask folks that you walk with me on this because we're going to lead up to a bigger conversation. This is just the first salvo, if you will. Last week, Valve, in a very surprising move, announced Steambox 2.0. Right now, there's been a lot of questions about who's for. There's been some thoughts and some theories about whether or not this is going to be an industry interrupter, if you will, like it's going to maybe put consoles on notice. There's certainly been a certain group of anti-Xbox journalists and content creators that called this the death of Xbox once again, or the Xbox killer, or what was the other one that I heard? Oh, this really mucks up the plans for Xbox's next generation console. Folks, I'm here to tell you that look, if you are a Steam user and you don't want to use your PC on your TV by sharing a screen or running cables, and your main platform to play games is Steam, this box is for you. Now, we don't know the price yet. There's been some talk about maybe $599 for the 512, maybe $699, maybe $750 for the 2 terabyte. We have no idea. There is a rumor floating around that there's going to be another big announcement. You've heard a couple of the big content creators talk about that. I don't know what that announcement is going to be. Listen, I know everybody in the chat right now is thinking what I'm thinking. Half-Life 3. Oh my God, it's coming out. I mean, that's the white whale. Like, if that game ever comes out, I think most people are going to have a coronary. We won't even get a chance to play because we've been waiting for that game for decades. That would be a really big launch title for this thing. But of course, you won't have to buy the console to play it because it's going to be on Steam. So you better play it anywhere you have available to play games. But it would be a really big talking point to say, hey, Half-Life 3 launching, whenever this thing launches next year. Is that what it is, folks? I would think that'd be one of the coolest stories of 26, to be honest with you, if Half-Life 3 was announced. That would be freaking awesome. I'm still waiting for a FPS version of Half-Life Alyx. Like, I don't want to play it in VR. I want to literally sit, and I know there's mods. I want the official one, folks. I'm sorry. I know I'm a nerd like that. I want the official ones. But this is where I'm saying walk with me, folks, because you get this PlayFab announcement, which is a really big deal. Cross progression is going to be a monster size deal for Xbox and Steam. Now, we know Gabe and Phil are good friends. We know they've been working together. I know, Jamie Moran, you've heard the same talk that I've heard of, right? That, Xbox caught with their pants down. I actually don't think so. Now, this is complete speculation, folks. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. And I could be 1,000% wrong, but I don't think that I am. Now, one of the things, there are several things about this Steambox 2.0 that a lot of Xbox players are not going to invest in this thing. One, you can't play any multiplayer games on it because they don't support the anti-cheat programs that they have. And that's just a Steam thing, right? That's nothing new. It's not breaking news. It's just how Steam is. Steam does not have Fortnite. It does not have Warzone, right? It doesn't have any of these multiplayer games that have anti-cheat. So that's a bit of a bummer. That's something that could change, though, right? Like, I saw a story, and it's just speculation at this point, but Valve is working on a solution. Now, Valve is pretty good about doing stuff, so maybe they figure it out and they get anti-cheat games onto Steam. That would be a really big deal. But one of the bigger factors about Steam is Steam does not have Xbox Game Pass. And there's been talk for quite a while of Xbox trying to get this service onto Steam. That would be incredible. Now, again, this is all speculation, but I'm just saying, if you follow the breadcrumbs and the announcements, you got PlayFab, you got the Steambox 2.0. I actually don't think Steam doesn't know what Xbox is doing, or Xbox doesn't know what Steam is doing. And I say that because I think they're working together. Now, I know this, I'm not getting into the talk of, acquisition, because that's a deep, dark rabbit hole. I don't know if they could even pull it off, to be honest with you, if they went out to buy Steam. Because, Gabe wanted to sell it at one point. Maybe he's getting tired. I don't know. But needless to say, there is something here, Jamie Moran. I don't think that you get this announcement from PlayFab. I don't think you get this announcement of the Steambox 2.0. And I don't think that both companies are not either working together or know what the other one is doing, because they're partners. They're very good partners, as a matter of fact. Let's get your thoughts on the opening topic for today.
Well, I think my theory is not really that exciting. If you go back like 7 years ago, Microsoft was really pushing for cross play, right?
Yeah.
All these games were basically locked into each, platform. And, especially for multiplayer games, player bases could get small really quick. Fighting games dwindled over time. And then Microsoft really started pushing for crossplay. And then now, most multiplayer games do offer crossplay. It's kind of like the industry standard now. So when I saw this, I kind of just took the whole, timing of a thing, as in, I think maybe cross progression is going to be more of a thing. These companies, as much as they want to get as much money as possible off consumers, they do make some poor consumer moves, and I think that cross progression is a very poor consumer move. I think Indiana Jones does have cross progression with Xbox and Steam and Windows, so like, to me, it's just them maybe pushing that, because it would be cool, like, to see Game Pass integrated with Steam. I can't really see that happening, just because what would be the monetary incentive for Steam, right?
Good point.
Because like, look, Game Pass, it makes Xbox money, but Game Pass wouldn't be making Steam money. So unless Phil's going to write a big annual check to Steam every year, I don't really think that's going to happen, at least for a while, until they get stuff sorted. But I think you have all these games now coming out on basically everything. You have Square Enix, basically they've confirmed they're putting all their games on everything from now on. And look, an Xbox, a PC, a PlayStation, they're all the same thing. It's all x86 architecture, and they're making it easy to develop for all these different platforms. So why not have it so you can have cross progression between all of your devices? Because we already have cross play, right? So like in the past, we've had like Sony in the past didn't want cross play because you wouldn't necessarily need to buy a PlayStation to play friends on a PlayStation. You could just buy anything. But I think now that the walls have came down a little, I think it's going to be a push for cross progression. Single player, multiplayer, everything. And you've seen with Play Anywhere, more and more people, like a lot of people have been picking up these new handhelds, and these handhelds run Windows. It's not native Xbox software, so you do have crossplay, you do have Steam integration because you put the Steam store and Epic Store and all that stuff. So to me, I think it's just the industry doing a slowly shifting to a cross progression state for every single title. A lot of titles already do this, but would it be cool to see some collaboration between Microsoft Game Pass and Steam? Ideally, that would be the case because as far as we know, the next Xbox you're going to be able to play your Steam games on it. We'll have to see, but my take is that I think I don't really think there's going to be any Game Pass integration with Steam anytime soon. But I think it's mainly a progression thing.
I mean, I think you're on to something, but interestingly enough, and I left this out of my whole spiel, if you will, was the next Xbox, what Magnus is expected to be, right? Well, this has been confirmed. This is not like any kind of breaking news. You're going to be able to play and have other stores on this device, the official Xbox device. Now, whether or not there is a partnered device that releases next year, and I actually think that there is, and you're not moving me off this hill until it doesn't happen, and then I'm wrong, and then so be it. I'll be the first one to come out here and stand and in front of the firing squad. That's fine, but the next Xbox or the next pair of Xboxes, because I believe there's going to be two SKUs, you're going to have the ability to have a lot of places to get games from that are not Xbox, Steam being one of them. Now, does this Xbox Game Pass and Steam integration happen when the Steam box releases next year? I have no idea if it's even going to happen. I know that they've been trying to work with Valve to get Xbox Game Pass on there. I don't know if Valve actually needs Steam to have it, but I just think that there is something here. I just think that there is no way Phil Spencer and Microsoft didn't know what Gabe was doing. And I think Gabe is working with Xbox to make sure that PlayFab works seamlessly. And not only that, getting Steam, his business, onto the next Xbox, even potentially next year's OEM partner device. Because again, that is going to be a preview. The same way the Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X are previews into what Xbox themselves will be releasing and a handheld in potentially 2027. But look, again, I think there is something here. If you don't, that's perfectly fine, ladies and gentlemen. But I just think that it is a win for both companies if they work together. And what I will say, and you know what, I want to continue this conversation because you know how, Jamie, when this was announced, the Xbox is dead conversation happened again. This has been a regular thing. But am I wrong or even potentially, towing the line of console war when I say the one that looks like they're being left behind is PlayStation? Now, I say that because, of course, Jez Cord of Windows Central over the weekend set the interwebs ablaze by saying that he has heard from somebody that PlayStation will be potentially abandoning their their PC aspirations, which I think is wrong. Now, I don't know. I don't have connections. I'm not suggesting that Jez does not know what he's talking about. He is way well connected than I am, 10 times over. But I don't think that's going to happen because they literally just mentioned what they were going to do to get new players outside of the PlayStation player base. And they did that during one of their financial meetings. So to change all of a sudden is crazy. But if you look at the way Xbox is moving, right? We know that they're moving into the next generation with a box that plays everything, that gives you, as the consumer, as the player, the choice to play your games anywhere. And I know people are tired of hearing about Play Anywhere, but I'm sorry, it's here to stay. And it is a incredible deal for its consumer base. If you are someone that buys a game and you want to play it on any device that you have available, you can do that. And that is that's just great. I don't know who would be a detractor to that. But when you look at what Sony is doing, and we don't know a lot, we have an idea that the PlayStation 6 is going to be a powerful box. There's no doubt about it. It's not going to be as powerful as the Magnus, and we know that because they want to sell it at a cheaper price, so it's going to come in underpowered. Now, when I say underpowered, I'm not being spiteful. I'm not being a D. I mean, it's going to be underpowered compared to what Magnus is expected to be. It's going to be way more powerful than the PlayStation 5 Pro for sure, but it's just not going to be as powerful as the Magnus. And that's pretty much confirmed fact. But Jamie, let me just pose this other question to you. When you see the lanes that Xbox is moving in, right? They have PlayFab that they're working on. It's in preview. They have Xbox Game Pass. They have Xbox Play Anywhere. They're allowing you to put your game on any screen that you have available to play your games across multiple devices. Steam has always been great. They've done a lot of innovation, and now they are shaking up the console space with their own PC console. That's what it is. If you are someone that wants to play on your TV in your living room, this box is for you. Now, the price is going to be a big point, but when you look at Valve taking a shot, this is across all platforms. They are the disruptor. They are doing something different. Sony is just doing the same thing. Do you think, in your opinion, that Sony's sameness, if you will, is something that is going to potentially, come back to bite them? If the PlayStation 6 is just a more powerful PlayStation 5 Pro, the question is that enough? What do you think? What are your thoughts or your final thoughts on this?
I'm trying to think how I can put this. If you own an Xbox console or PlayStation, there's a big chance that you lean towards console gaming. You don't want to put up with, drivers, all that stuff. And by the way, and I'm saying this as an Xbox console guy, right? PC is the best platform, technically, right? You can upgrade your hardware. You basically have unlimited backwards compatibility, all that jazz. But I prefer console. I'm an Xbox guy. I prefer Xbox. But I don't necessarily think next generation's that cut and dry, right? I think that, there's all this talk for months now, and it's going to be years soon, that, the next Xbox is going to be this PC device. After everything I've heard Sarah Bond saying, it's nice that Sarah Bond's had to clarify for the 50th time that they are working on a console, because we need to hear that every week, apparently. But the way I see it is that, look, if you want your console gamers to buy consoles, you're gonna have to offer them a console-like experience. You press that button, you're on an Xbox console. And to me, with everything that's been going on, we've heard that you're gonna have access to Steam, Epic Store, GOG, all that stuff. To me, I don't think we're going to be getting PCs next generation. I think we're just going to be getting consoles that happen to have access to other stores. I mean, the consoles we already have now are PCs. They're just in fancy boxes with different UIs. So, the way I see it is that Microsoft's they pushing for you to have access to your games no matter what store. The way I see it is PlayStation, they are basically going to be doing another console that won't have access to the stores. I think the average gamer they don't really care about, you know, if you're a console gamer, what are the odds that you want to play games on Steam? I'm guessing that's pretty low, right? Let's take me, for instance. I'm a console gamer. There's games on PC I want to play, right? I could put them on my current PC, but it's an editing rig. It's not made for gaming, right? So there's games I would like to get off Steam. However, that isn't most people, right? I think that, look, if you're going to be buying a PlayStation next generation, you're going to be wanting the PlayStation experience. When I buy an Xbox next generation, I want the Xbox experience. I want to see the Xbox splash screen, have me achievements in the corner, all that stuff. I think that these two companies, they're just going to be offering different experiences. I don't think Sony's going to be left in the dust. I just think they're going to be offering a more, I'm doing air quotes here, traditional console experience, whereas on Xbox, it's going to look like a console, sound like a console, act like a console, but you're going to have a little Steam icon in the corner, right? And that's going to be cool. I'm going to be able to play Homeworld Remastered on my Xbox, and that's going to be a glorious day. So, like, I think Sony, they're going to be fine, right? Xbox, it looks like they're going to have a very powerful console next generation, and with the games that's going to be coming out around about that time, you know, we're probably going to have a new Elder Scrolls game right around then, right? That's going to be perfect. So, like, Xbox is poised to have a really good future because if you look at their lineup of games coming, they actually have a decent roadmap that we've seen, right? It looks really good. They have powerful hardware. They're going to have we're going to have access to basically other stores, which is cool. And if people haven't seen, GOG have an amazing collection of classic titles. But on PlayStation, they're just going to offer a more traditional experience. Like, look at Sony, right? Their last showcase for State of Play, one of the things they showed off was a monitor, right? And what have they shown off at previous State of Plays before? Speakers, earphones, right? They are wanting people over at Sony, in the Sony side of things, they want their fans to buy into everything Sony. They want the speakers. They want you to buy the monitor.
I mean, the monitor is dope. I'm not gonna lie. It's a nice looking monitor.
Yeah, monitor looks cool, but like they want people to buy into all this PlayStation like hardware, right? They're probably going to come out with the PlayStation keyboard and mouse, right? I 100% that's going to happen, and they want the PlayStation gamer to buy into all this stuff, and that's just their business model. Like, look at Nintendo, right? Nintendo does not care about PC. They just don't, right? In fact, if Microsoft and Sony were selling 40 million copies for a game, we wouldn't be hearing the word multi-platform for many of them. But Sony, they've been dabbling in PC. Jez Corden the other day, I don't know if you saw it, Boom, but Jez Corden said the other day that Sony isn't pulling away from the whole day and date thing. It was completely like, you know, not fabricated, but people were stretching things, he said.
You're right. Well, that's not surprising.
Yeah, it's the internet. It happens. Shocker. But like, look, Sony, they made a lot of money on Xbox, right? Helldivers 2 did extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Helldivers 2 really popular on Xbox. I think in the UK it's still like number 6 on the Xbox store. So like a lot of people have been buying into that game, right? Sony isn't going to move away from that. They're just doing things differently. If you go back 15 years ago, I meant more like 12 years ago, like Sony was actually doing this like multi-screen like thing, right? If you bought one game on your PlayStation, you also had it on your Vita and also via cloud, and you could stream it on your tablet, right? They were trying this different thing back then, although it didn't work out for them because streaming at the time wasn't exactly the best. And I can say that as an OnLive member, streaming back then was terrible for video games.
I had that as well.
It was awful. Absolutely awful. I think there was like 5 members altogether, but like the experience back then didn't work. Now it does. And do I think Sony's going to be left in the dust? No, they're just doing things differently. And, you know, who knows? Maybe Microsoft's plans will like blow everyone's minds, and maybe Sony at some point down the future will go, maybe we should let people have access to their Steam games. It's something new. And frankly, I think in the console space, we kind of need that, right? I think that like if Sony comes out with a traditional console, it's going to be fine, right? But I think it's okay for Microsoft to try something different, right? Consoles have been the same for so long that maybe something like this will feel fresh and unique. But I'm looking forward to what happens. But I don't think, look, doom and gloom, people love that stuff, right? People click on us, unfortunately, like negative stuff gets more clicks. But like, frankly, I like the idea that Microsoft's trying to think different things, and I like the idea that Sony, they dabble in PC. They're putting games on Xbox, right? It's a unique thing that's happening right now in the gaming space, and I like the fact that things are changing. And I think gaming really needs change. But that's just my take.
And it's a fair take. Like I said, this is not something we're not throwing, potentially Sony under the bus. That's not what we do here. We can be pointed, sure. But I, like I said, for me personally, I am not going to be buying a PlayStation 6 if Sony continues down the road that they're going. If they're going to eventually get to day and date on PC and I can play their games via Steam on my Xbox, there's no reason for me to buy a PlayStation 6. And I'm not being console worry. I'm just being a better consumer. I have a PlayStation 5. I enjoy it when I play it. Like last year, I played Astrobot until my fingers were bleeding. I freaking loved that game. And if there's a sequel, you can bet your ass I'm going to try and platinum it. I absolutely love that character. And there's a lot of what Sony does that I enjoy. I don't think we're ever getting a new Uncharted, which is sad because I really like Nathan Drake and that whole story. We'll see. God of War, they had to. They were excellent. It's going to be very interesting, Jamie, to see what they do if they get back to their first party roots at the same time they're launching a new console. And that new console, we don't know when it's coming. The rumor is 2028. There's some talk about 2029. I do think Xbox is going to beat them to the punch with their own hardware. I don't know if it's going to be the same turnout as what happened with the Xbox 360 versus the PlayStation 3. But they are definitely going to potentially get them by a year. And if in fact that's the case, it might actually be even 2 years if the partner device, which I believe is Asus, launches next year. We will definitely see. But look, before we get into the next topic, and this is, I got to give this community a tremendous shout out. I got a couple of posts here from different people talking about the year that Xbox has had. And we're going to talk about it, but we're going to segue into the nominations that happened yesterday. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get into it. Xbox has a bunch of nominees, 10 nominations. I have a list of who has the most. I have some thoughts on, again, let me save my thoughts. I don't want to let the cat out the bag, but Jamie, let me just catch up on Super Chats here. And we have the first one of the day comes from Rapture Press Network. See, that's a name that I would have remembered if I seen it before. So welcome to the program, Rapture, and thank you so much for the very generous $5 Super Chat. And Rapture goes on to say, if Microsoft and Steam made Play Anywhere work together across both stores, that would be huge for all. Cross progression is good and is achievable. You know something? That's a very interesting point that I didn't even consider. If they, and again, this is it could have been a path if I would have thought about it, because I didn't, that we could have walked down. And you're onto something here. If they are currently working together to get Steam games, I mean, if they're doing the cross progression, meaning your save and where you are in the game is going to work seamlessly, you could get a Play Anywhere situation with Steam. Maybe that's something they're working on in the background. I think that these two companies are working in tandem. How close they are, I'm not sure, but I don't think that one didn't know what the other one was doing. I think they're working together. But that's a phenomenal point, Raptor. And thank you so much for the generous $5 Super Chat. And of course, welcome to the show. Now we have here WTB 1327, member for 8 months. He goes on to say this, with Magnus in 26 and the OEM in 27. I actually think you might have switched it, but that's fine. I'm going to read it verbatim. Too many people are touting that the S-Box will be priced low without consoles. When it's advertised as a PC, it will be $800. Look, there's been a $1,200 number that's floating around that people actually reported, and Jamie actually brought this to my attention, that Sarah Bond said that. She didn't say $1,200. She said a premium curated device. Where that 1,200 came from, I have no idea. Could it be $1,000? It absolutely could be. Could it be $900? Could be $800? It sure could be. We don't know. Is it going to be expensive? I believe so. Are companies going to continue to take losses on hardware like Sony and everyone is doing? Because Sony's taking losses, right? Xbox was taking losses. And what do? They raise the prices of their console. Instead of prices going down like they've done for decades, prices went up after 5 years. It's the most craziest generation we've ever been in. So I don't know. But needless to say this, I don't care how much it costs. I'm going to figure out a way to afford it and get it. And I want these new consoles because they're going to be very powerful. And I'm not a PC guy. If you're a PC, member of the community, that's awesome. And you'll get your 5090s and your 6090s and eventually your 790s, 7090s. That's awesome. That's just not the life I want to live. Like Jamie, I'm a console guy, and I've always been that way. I want to plug and play. I literally want to press the power button, use my controller to turn on the console, and just go. And maybe that's because I'm an old man. Then I'll just be an old man. But Traybone 408, who's been a channel member for 15 months. So thank you, WTB and Traybone, for being channel members as long as you've had. Traybone goes on to say, Microsoft is in the end game. They feel comfortable because it's all part of the plan. It's why Phil was the only one congratulating Steam. They're 100% in cahoots. Brother, that is a phenomenal point. Now, look, I'm going to be honest. We don't really see like a congratulatory thing from Nintendo. Miyamoto usually comes out. Sometimes he says things. Sony themselves, like I've never seen any of their brass outside of Shuhei. Like Shuhei is very vocal. He's a gentleman human being. So Shuhei would normally, when he was working for Sony, congratulate when games were released or when consoles were released. He's done that more times than not, but he's one of the only ones. I've never seen, like when Jim Ryan was running the show, or even Herman Holtz for that matter. I've never seen a post from Herman. Now, I could have missed it, sure, folks, but I don't ever recall that being a conversation. But that's a phenomenal point. Again, this is why this community is awesome, bringing great points to the conversation as always. But Nino Vistic has done what he's done more times than I can count this year. He has gifted one double barrel gaming membership. So, of course, aloha to you, kind sir. Hopefully, and you are enjoying Hawaii's beautiful weather. Hopefully, the family as well. A big thank you once again to Nino Vestic for dropping a one double barrel gaming membership. We certainly appreciate the generosity. Shout out to Nico Muller, who jumped into Call of Duty Black Ops 7. I actually have footage of us working together to take down some fools. We played last night for about, I want to say maybe about 45 minutes to an hour. It was a lot of fun. So, folks, listen, if you ever see me on, I mean, like, I don't have anything blocked. So if you see me on, just jump in the game. It's fine. If I don't usually have a mic connected because I'm playing with randos, but if you jump on and I can find the mic, I'll jump on the mic. So yeah, I'm always I think I hit level 32 last night in Black Ops 7. I love it. The multiplayer is dope. I know, Jamie, you've been playing the single player. Folks, if you didn't know, there's a third person mode. Thanks to Jamie Moran. He put that out on the socials. Hopefully you found out a way, because I think you just press the start button. You can go into this is a third person mode in Call of Duty. How wacky is that? Outside of there being an Arkham Asylum Scarecrow level at the end, you can play in third person. It's the craziest Call of Duty we've ever seen. I have not played the single player, but I have played the multiplayer quite a bit, and I'm very much enjoying it. So listen, let's get into the next topic here. Now, this is going to be a bit of a segue. So Nico Muller had put out a post, and let me see if I could find it here. Did I send it to myself? Ah, man, I hate when I don't have these things available. I might have sent it to you guys. Let me see if I could find it. Yeah, here it is. Well, actually, you know what? It was Nico, but it was Clute Abdel 114 in the chat. So Clute says this. I mean, there's a lot of segues here, folks, so walk with me on this. Clute writes, and it's at Zach and Clute on Twitter. And this comes the way of Clobriel, who put out a post where it says Xbox Game Studio releases in 2025, and there's quite a few of them. And Clute asks a question, chat, and I want to dive into this. He says, "Was this the best year in Xbox history?" And I think the easy answer is 1,000%. But I have another tweet in front of me that really drives this point home, Jamie Moran, and it's from King Dudley. Now, I don't follow him, but I am now because King Dudley put out this post, and it's pretty dope. Now, it's at King Dudley _Xbox. This was posted yesterday. And he goes on to talk about Xbox Game Pass day one, but it goes a little bit further. And this is where it's very interesting. If you are wondering whether Xbox had a good year, I think all you have to do, Jamie, is look at what Game Pass has levied from beginning of the year to Call of Duty Black Ops 7. And it has been a stellar year with games of every ilk from multiple studios within Xbox Game Studios and even a partnered pair of games in Ninja Gaiden 2 Black as well as Ninja Gaiden 4, right? But another piece of context that comes into play here is using the 2025 Jeff Keighley Game Awards as a jumping off point of context. So King Dudley says this: Xbox Game Pass Day 1 2025 Game Award nominees. Check out this list, folks. Now, the Game Awards is one of the biggest shows. You've heard me talk about it. I know a lot of people hate when I say I like Jeff, but I do. Do I know him personally? No. Have I met him? Sure. He's been in plenty of the same press places that I've been when I was, covering, E3. Do I like all the things he does? No. I made mention of it yesterday. He congratulated Sony's PlayStation 5 for the 5-year anniversary and didn't say anything about Xbox. I mean, I just think that's weird. If you're an ambassador for the gaming community, you're supposed to congratulate everybody. Now, maybe he forgot. I'm just saying, maybe he forgot. I'm giving a guy a lifeline here. Or maybe he doesn't give a shit. One way or the other, it just looks bad. But circling the wagons, ladies and gentlemen, check this out, folks. These are games that were nominated for the 2025 Game Awards, but every one of these games that were nominated are in Xbox Game Pass. Check this out. Check this list out, Jamie and chat. Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which I think is going to run the gambit. I think it's going to win every freaking category it's in, and I hope that it does. It's one of the best stories in gaming I have ever heard, and I've been gaming for 40 plus years. It's a studio that had no right to make a game this good. I'm not being facetious or even, like rude. If you listen to how this game came to be, and you've heard me gush about this game before, it shouldn't work, Jamie, but somehow it's one of the most nominated games in history of the Game Awards. I think this thing is going to run the gambit, and I hope it does. I hope that studio wins every freaking award that they're nominated for just because they deserve it. Expedition 33, I didn't finish it, folks. I'm sorry. I got lost in a lot of other games, but that game is incredible, and it's one of my sins of 2025. I got to get to that game. I have to finish that game. But check this list out. So, of course, I said Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, Hollow Knight, Silksong, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Avowed, South of Midnight, Adamfall, Blueprints, Doom, The Dark Ages, Ball X Pit, The Altars, Rematch, Ninja Gaiden 4, and The Outer Worlds 2. Every one of these games, ladies and gentlemen, were in Xbox Game Pass day and date. Jamie, that's incredible. And every one of those games is up for an award of some sorts. I just think that when you talk about Xbox in 2025, I know there's going to be a lot of people in this chat. Some are trolls. You're gonna go to the interwebs. You're gonna go to social media. You're gonna go to content creators, and they're gonna try and sell you on this lie that Xbox had a terrible year. Xbox was dying. They're out of the game, 1 foot in the grave. But they're not. They are making money, which I always say I can give a flying shit about because they're not making me any money. I care about the games as a consumer. And every one of those games in Xbox Game Pass, day and date, Jamie, on top of them releasing 12 plus games. And there could be one more game. The baker's dozen, ladies and gentlemen. And I think, and this is just my thoughts, that at the Game Awards, Todd Howard's going to come out with his brown jacket, as we know that he does, and show us a trailer for Fallout 3 Remake. And that launches potentially the day of or right before the show, second season on Amazon. That's my play on it. Let's get your thoughts on the year Xbox has had, and more importantly, Xbox Game Pass has delivered. Oh, you muted, Jamie. Oh, did we lose Jamie?
My mouse fell off my desk.
Okay, there you
go. Yeah, so like when some of the biggest games of the year launch in Game Pass, then you know you've had a pretty good year. Xbox has had a really good year. And look, when it comes to the Jeff Keighley Game Awards, Indiana Jones was my game of the year last year, right? Absolutely incredible game. Right? I've only ever given 5 games a 10 out of 10. That's one of them. And that got snubbed. And at the time, people were telling me, "Oh, it'll get pushed to this year. Don't worry about it." And it's snubbed again, right? That's expected. But like Xbox, they had a very good year, and like in my opinion, it's their best year ever. You know, the funny thing is, a lot of replies I get on Twitter and on YouTube, people like angry all the time, calling like Xbox it's the end of the world and stuff. But they've launched the most first party games this year. They've had the biggest games this year, and it's the end of Xbox still. But anyway, look at the Game Awards, massive titles launching Game Pass, and look, Expedition 33. And by the way, I hate to be a person that says "I told you so" to the gaming community. I hate to say that, but I'm going to say I told you so. When Expedition 33 was announced, I was the only nerd online praising this game, saying this is going to be special. And then it was eventually announced for Game Pass, and every single reply I got on Twitter was, "It's turn-based. I don't want to play turn-based. It's a AA game. I don't like AA games." And then what happens? Comes out, smacks people across the face, and tells you, "Oh yeah, AA games can kick ass and be wonderful as well." Turn-based combat, people have this gripe against it for some reason, but think about it like this. Turn-based combat, you can play with one hand and eat a sandwich with the other. Right? Beautiful. So, like, this game, I've been trying to tell people it's going to be amazing. It's a JRPG made by a French studio. For some reason, French studios can make really good JRPGs. Don't know why, but it seems to be a thing I've noticed over the past couple of years. And the game came out, blew people's mind holes, and it's a wonderful game. And a lot of people told me since that game came out, "Oh yeah, turn-based games, I'm actually going to give them a go now." And if anyone's listening that thinks like that, play Lost Odyssey. That game will change your life. But yeah, if you look at the list of games, man, it's been a great year. Hollow Knight Silksong on the third-party side, basically one of the most hyped games of the year. Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Steam all crashed when that game came out because the stores just were overloaded. Really makes you think what it's going to be like when Grand Theft Auto releases. My God, those servers are going to melt. But yeah, look at this list. Look, Xbox had a great year. To see Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2 nominated for Best RPG of the Year, well done. And look, I played Avowed for over 4 months. I clearly liked the game. And I'm currently playing The Outer Worlds 2. And by the way, even this early on, I think The Outer Worlds 2 is a better game than Avowed.
Yeah, dude.
I might be biased. Yeah, I might be biased because I lean towards sci-fi, but like The Outer Worlds 2, that's that's got some good stuff going for it. But Xbox, they've had a good year. I do think Doom: The Dark Ages got snubbed a bit. That might just be me, but yeah, honestly, I think Xbox had a great year. The Game Awards, not really a representation of that, because there's clearly, like, Jeff Key, the Game Awards, Microsoft gets snubbed a lot, right? In fact, I do think a few of the companies get snubbed a lot. I think Warhammer 40K Space Marine got snubbed hard last year, and I will stand on this hill and defend that game. It's an amazing game. But yeah, great year. What can I say? It will be interesting to see what actually wins this year, because Expedition 33 launched in Game Pass, and some people have this like weird thing with day one Game Pass games where they'll say, "Oh, this is like a Game Pass game," like it's some like smaller title that people aren't gonna like. Yet Expedition 33 comes out and blows people's minds because its story's so unique in a space that's gotten really stagnant, and this just proved people wrong, which I love. But yeah, honestly, great turnout for Xbox, and it will be interesting to see who actually wins.
Well, what's, again, it's one of those interesting, thought conversations that we're about to have. So this year has been dynamite for Xbox Game Studios. Like, their first party games showed up and showed out, Jamie. They just have. Now, granted, maybe not every game was for you, and I get it. I am the first guy to jump in line and say, listen, not every game is for every gamer. You've heard me say this a million times. So if maybe South of Midnight, its art style or its protagonists weren't for you, maybe you didn't like the combat, because that was one of the bigger nitpicks, and the combat needed work for sure. Was it terrible? No, it worked. It was very good. It wasn't revolutionary for some people. Fine. Maybe Doom: The Dark Ages, like Jamie was saying, he felt that it got snubbed. Maybe it wasn't too Doom or not enough Doom for you. I don't know. I mean, I got 950 gamer score out of 1,000. I freaking love that game. Maybe Avowed didn't connect with you. Avowed was my game of the year until something called The Outer Worlds 2. Now I'm at odds, because I am in the final act of The Outer Worlds 2, which I have put down. I'm probably about another 90 minutes from beating it, and that'll be my second run. I'm closing in on 6 days worth of play. Now, I had as many. I don't think I had as many, but I had a ton of time in Avowed. I freaking loved Avowed, and I always use you as a talking point or a jumping off point, Jamie, where I've seen your, because you post a lot. You post a lot on X, and you post a lot being a happy gamer. And of course, this is where the trolls attack you, and of course the inmates that have escaped from Arkham. God forbid you should be having a good time, but your gameplay for Avowed specifically made me ask the question of, did I play the game wrong? Because I played as a magic user from first person. The way that you played was a third person mode and melee character with a sword and shield. Now, I know you've switched around, but you mainly played with a melee third person character. I'm that's exactly how I'm gonna play through Avowed again, which I have to play that game again. It's just one of my favorite experiences of the year. And it's just, again, I'm at odds. Right now, it was a lot. And then the Outer Worlds, it might edge it out. I'm just having a really great time with Obsidian Games. And I'm not a Grounded person. If you are someone that, played Grounded 2, really enjoyed it, that's 3 games. And they just added a turn-based, mode to Pillars of Eternity. Like, does this studio ever sleep? I don't know. But I'll, in closing, or before we segue into the Game Awards and the nominations, if you consider 2025, Jamie, to be a monster-sized year, next year looks to be even better, it's insane to think about. And this is where you get into that, when again, folks, if you start seeing the people saying that Xbox is dead or they don't have games or they don't deserve to be nominated, block them. Put them on the pay no mind list, because this year is a perfect example, and it's been the lead up. This isn't just, it didn't just happen, Jamie. This has started in 2023. Remember, 2022 was an abomination year for them, right? And that's coming off of winning Publisher of the Year in 21. So 2022 comes out, everything's delayed. They practically have nothing. They have some third-party stuff in there. They had some Games Pass stuff in there. High on Life launched into the service. That was a big, an exclusive for them for a while. But 22 was a down year. 23 was a really good year. Starfield, all of the games that were delayed came out. Well, of course, Redfall not being the greatest, and obviously because it wasn't great, a studio got closed, which is sad. But then you go from 23 to 24, and they're up in the ante. Not only in just Game Pass, but the production of Xbox Game Studios. Now you get to 2025, and it's insane. Like, there's just not enough time to play all these games. I mean, think about this for a second, folks. In Xbox Game Pass this year, if you're an RPG fan, you got Expedition 33, which is, yes, third party, right? It's a AA game. But you got Oblivion Remake, Avowed, and The Outer Worlds 2. All in the service. That's 4 massive size RPGs. Hell, if that's all you got all year, you were good. But that's not all you got, right? And now, Jamie, we're looking towards 2026. And again, folks, you've heard me break down the list, but I'm going to do it again for context. Doom. You got Halo, Gears, Forza. You got the Trinity, right? It's like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. For DC, well, these are the Trinity for Xbox. Then on top of that, you're going to get your traditional Call of Duty that's not going to have Arkham Asylum levels in it with Modern Warfare 4. You have Fable releasing next year, and you might actually have Clockwork Revolution next year, and that's just from first party. We have no idea what is coming to Xbox Game Pass, and I'm sure it's going to be as good as this year, maybe even better. Jamie, before we move on and segue into the nominations, just get your thoughts on, if 25 was insane, how crazy do you expect 26 to be for Xbox gamers?
I think this year taught us that Microsoft can really surprise us, because this year they had a lot of games that were announced this year that released this year. Gears of War Reloaded, yes, it's a remaster of a remake, but it was announced this year and it released this year. You have the Oblivion Remastered, which it's a remake, let's be honest. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake, announced this year, came out this year. Grounded 2 announced this year, came out this year. So like, that taught me that Microsoft. Oh yeah, Keeper announced this year, released this year. This taught me that Microsoft, they could have a lot of games in the oven that we just don't know about. They have a lot of first-party studios that have multiple teams. They are clearly working with outside studios to make remasters. And like, look, I think in the past people have had problems with remasters, but like, if you only have remasters come out in a year, that's a problem. But if you have them alongside new games, then it's not a problem. But if you have Halo, Forza, and Gears next year, and Fable, look, I 100% think Clockwork Revolution's next year. I think a lot of people think that. We've seen a lot of gameplay by now. I'd be shocked if Fallout 3 isn't announced and released next month. It's 1000% coming out next year. 1000% Fallout 3 remake. So I 100% think that this year was the best year in Microsoft's history. I do think that next year will be better. I mean, hell, you have Halo, Forza, Gears, Fable, and more than likely Clockwork Revolution, Fallout if it's not out by then. So like, yeah, it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a really good year. But the funny thing is, right? Boom. I'm gonna talk about this because you DM'd us this last week. Microsoft is poised to have an incredible year, first party wise, next year, and some journalists were trying to push that it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing for Microsoft to have so many games next year because scary Grand Theft Auto releases at the back end of next year. My God, that's what we are now. That's where we're at now. Microsoft, They can't have a roadmap of games for you to be excited about. No. We can't allow that. We have to tell you that this is bad for Microsoft because of bloody Grand Theft Auto in November. We have a whole year next year. Whole year. Yet we have these bloggers, arse clowns, that are going out of their way to try and make it seem like it's a bad thing. How is it a bad thing, right? Year after year after year, whenever a game company has, not many games released out in a year, and all these companies do have years where not many games come out, right? It's the norm. It's the industry norm. However, Microsoft, they finally needed a place where they have consistent roadmaps, and they finally going to have a year where we get Halo, Forza, Gears, Fable that we know officially, right? And it's turned into a bad thing. Oh my God. I know negativity gets more clicks in the journalism space, and I'm doing journalism with air quotes because let's be honest, gaming journalism is a joke at the minute. There's a few outlets are like, but it's a joke.
Yep.
But like trying to twist that a good roadmap is a bad thing because of scary Grand Theft Auto. Come on. Like, come on. Like, this is ridiculous. And by the way, we were never told that, scary Grand Theft Auto is bad for Wolverine. No, it's a stupid thing to say that. All these games are going to be fine, right? Wolverine's going to be fine. Fable's going to be fine. Forza's going to be fine. Halo's going to be fine. Gears is going to be fine. It's going to be fine, right? But to see all these like positive, this is what I mean. Like, I'm a positive guy, right? I might sound annoyed at the minute, but I'm still salty that I lost stuff in Arc Raiders. But like, we have so many good games coming. Xbox is in a place where, yes, you have people doom and glooming, saying it's the end of Xbox. You need Sarah Bond to come out every other Tuesday announcing that there's a new console coming. So we're being told 50,000 times, and we're talking about a console 2 years before it comes out. We get it, right? We get that there's a new console coming. They actually have a roadmap of games. Finally, we have roadmaps multiple years in a row, right? Multiple 10-pole titles coming out next year. And it's turned into a bad thing. Oh my God, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. This is where we're at now. Right? Like, it's a good thing we have so many games next year. Hell, Grand Theft Auto, if it does come out next year, nice. I'm going to play it. I'm going to put 30 hours into the story, and I'm going to play something else, right? Too much fixation on Grand Theft Auto. My God.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a great year next year. I think next year, Microsoft, I mean, look, I was originally on Team 2026 for hardware. I was 100% on 2026. Now I'm 100% on Team 2027 for the next gen Xbox.
Yeah, that's for sure. I believe that. I believe you're onto something with that. I don't think they are going to rush anything. I think they need to get the UI set up perfectly. I think what you see on the handhelds now are just a preview of what it's going to look like. The goal for next generation for Xbox, for their next generation Xbox, has to be the UI to rule them all. Meaning, and what I mean by that is the console is going to be at the center of everything they're going to do. The console must have a unified UI that when you turn on this box, whatever it looks like in 2027, that UI needs to look like and act like everywhere else. Meaning that what you see on your console needs to be on your TV, your phone, your tablet, your refrigerator, your streaming service, or your handheld. It needs to look and act perfectly in tandem. If they can do that, and that is what they are working towards, that's gonna be the final form for Xbox. And on top of that, Jamie, they'll be putting their games here, there, and everywhere, and maybe even buy a new publisher. Who knows? But look, shout out to this incredible community. Almost 700 people watching live. So, of course, I want to say this because I get yelled at all the time when I don't. Folks, if you're finding the channel, see a lot of new names here, and you appreciate the tenacity. You appreciate the homework that goes into putting these shows. I don't read from the phone. I go and I do the work, and I ask Jamie, literally, I show notes after show. Anyone that works with me knows that I put a lot of work into this show. I do this 5 days a week, and I do it joyfully. Honestly, this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me as a gamer and as a content creator. I tried it out. I didn't know it was going to work. And then 8 million plus views later, here we are. 8 years later, here we are. And we're here because of you. So if you are, again, if you've been with, an OG fan, thank you so much, honestly, for supporting Double Barrel Game. But if you're someone in the chat right now that just found the channel, we are on the hunt for 17K. And you can help us get there by simply subscribing. I do this Monday through Friday and occasionally even some breaking news stuff because I'm retired. So I can jump in and throw a podcast together at the drop of a hat. But look, let's get into the next topic. And this is, of course, the Game Awards, or Jeff Keighley's Game Awards 2025. Xbox had 10 nominations, which is pretty good. A lot of games that I liked got into those nominations, but we have heard many, many times before that these are the PlayStation Awards, right? Now, when PlayStation gets their games into the categories, and you may push back on me and you might not agree, a lot of their games deserve to be there. A lot of the games that have been there, that have won Game of the Year, that I've played and very much enjoyed. I know that last year Astrobot got into a lot of categories and kind of, swept the rug for a lot of games. I loved Astrobot. So much so that I'm only at the time was only missing one trophy for the platinum, and I couldn't get it because that last hidden board is just ridiculous. There's no checkpoints, and the board is about 20 something minutes. I tried 100 times. I could not do it. I love Astrobot as a character. I think when you look at mascots, he's one of my favorites. Honestly, I can gush all day. I got multiple, figures here, statues. There's actually a statue that I'm going to buy that just went up for pre-order with him on the actual DualSense that he used for the game. I'm going to get that because I freaking love Astrobot. But this year, and I'm going to break all of the nominations down, who got the most, who got the least, and we're going to break it down. But Sin in the chat brings up a phenomenal point. And this kind of leads into who is voting for these things and how does this happen? So, Jamie, you and I just went over a list of games that are going to come out next year for Xbox from Xbox Game Studios. And they're all bangers. Folks, they're all bangers. Well, Sin puts in the chat, seeing not one Xbox game in the most anticipated game category should pretty much tell you what the VGAs is all about or not about. I just watched for the trailers, that's all. So, again, this is not a piling on moment, folks. We're having a conversation here, and I want you to, walk with us here and have this conversation. So, Jamie, here are the lists of, and it's not all the categories. We don't have 2 hours to do that. We're only here for 90 minutes. But I'm going to give you the top nominations down to the bottom. And this is official, folks. I'm not making this up. This is literally from the Game Awards. 2025's most nominated publishers. Sony Interactive Entertainment with 19 nominations. And why this is funny is they released 3 games this year, ladies and gentlemen. 3. Ghosts of Yotai, which is a gorgeous game. I have not played it. Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. Now, I know people don't like the name, but that's what it's called, so I'm going to read it verbatim. And that's coming to Xbox. People are going to be like, well, that's not really PlayStation, it's Kojima. They published it, folks. The same way you count Ninja Gaiden 4, you got to count this one for a Sony win. They partnered with, and they are publishing this game for Kojima. It's their game, right? So it counts. And of course, MLB The Show. Those are the 3 games, right? They get 19 nominations. 19 nominations. And a lot of them I feel are forced. Like, I'm not, again, this is not console warring, folks. I'm just being honest. Ghost of Yotai looks phenomenal. I have not played it. I have not played Death Stranding 2. I am waiting for the Xbox version. That game is stunning. My brother platinumed that game. He loved every freaking second he played that game, but he also platinumed the first one. He also got 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements on the Xbox version, and I think he even started playing it on playing it again. He loves Death Stranding. Awesome, right? The next one is 13 nominations. That's Kepler Interactive. And of course, all of those nominations are from Expedition 33, which I believe they're going to run the gambit. I don't think there's a category that they lose. I really don't. So if anyone from Kepler Interactive or anybody listening from Sandfall, wear sneakers at the Game Awards, because you're going to be doing a lot of walking up to that podium to accept awards. The next one is 10 nominations, Jamie. That was from Electronic Arts and Microsoft. So, of course, Xbox Game Studios, 10 nominations. Electronic Arts, 10 nominations. Sega has received 7 nominations. Super Giant with 6 nominations. And at the bottom of the list here, Team Cherry with 5 nominations for, of course, Silksong. The Game Awards happening December 11th. I'll be watching. I am not streaming live. I'm going to watch it as a fan, which I always do. I might show up at someone else's podcast for a little bit. Like I know if Mav is going to do one, I'll probably jump on Mav's because I love hanging out with those guys. So if Mav, if you're listening, brother, I'll be jumping on if you, of course, invite me. We'll be breaking it down, all the trailers, the reveals, the snubs for that Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom. So Jamie, look, I'm trying to do this in a way that's not negative, because I don't like being negative, but I got to ask the question. 19 nominations for Sony Interactive Entertainment, and they only released 3 games. Like how I mean, again, I'm not being biased, but chat, work with, let's have a conversation, chat and Jamie. 19 nominations for a platform like Sony that releases 3 games. And some of the nominations are deserving, and others are just a bit of head scratchers. And I'm not being a hater. Nintendo got a few. You've seen the people putting out the pictures, right? Xbox being first with all their games, 10 nominations. Nintendo with all of their games that are coming out this year, I think they have like 4 nominations or something like that. And then Sony, 3 games, ladies and gentlemen, 3 games. And they get 19 nominations. Look, I understand that their games are beautiful, but I just think that it's a little excessive. And again, I'm not trying to be an a-hole about it, but Jamie, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Man, I've said a lot about the Game Awards in the past. Look, I think Jeff Keighley puts on a good show.
He does.
It's a big production. It has a lot of eyes on it, but at the end of the day, we all know why people are watching, right? It's great to see developers of your favorite game that year get awarded. Good stuff. But let's be honest, people watch for the new game announcements. People watch for the trailers. Like, look, people talk that the Jeff Keighley Game Awards is the be all and end all of all game awards. Like, it's the number one game awards. That if a game wins an award there, that's it. That's game of the year. But if you take away all the new game trailers, how many people's watching? Half? 1/3? Quarter? 1/8? Right? I always like watching the BAFTA Game Awards. Nobody watches the BAFTA Game Awards. It's a black tie event. There's comedians that do jokes about gaming, all that stuff. It's a good time. However, nobody watches it. Why? There's no new trailers. Right? Less and less people watch the Oscars. Why? It's not entertaining, right? But the Game Awards is entertaining. We get new trailers, and there's always some Muppet for some reason. By the way, I don't know why they always have Muppets at the Game Awards. That's always went over my head. But all the sponsors and stuff, the Game Awards sponsored by Gillette, and there's someone wearing like a Razor outfit. I don't get it. But yeah, it is a bit weird. Like, look, the Game Awards has awards that are given not off stage, but off screen, right? best esports team on a Wednesday. Like, come on, right? They're trying a bit too hard. Best esports coach. Boom. Can you name one esports coach?
I can't name one esports team.
Exactly.
I mean,
Nobody can.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea.
No, nobody can. It's an award that doesn't make sense, right? And look, best audio design, right? This one gave me a bit of an eye twitch yesterday. Best audio design, Arc Raiders isn't in there. For people that have played Arc Raiders, you would know some of the best audio design this entire generation, right? Not a single mention. Sony, look, out of past Game Awards, we could say Sony does get a bit of favor from people that vote, right? We've seen it across the board. And Kojima, look, I'm a Kojima fan, right? I played Death Stranding when it came to Xbox. I'll put my hand on my heart and I'll say, guess what? Death Stranding, amazing game, right? But there's a lot of people in the gaming space, especially like the gaming industry and the people that vote for the Game Awards. There's this obsession with Hideo Kojima, right? We say it all the time. There's a lot of people in the game industry obsessed with Kojima. They've probably given him a lot of votes because of Death Stranding 2. And I'm sure Death Stranding 2 is an amazing game. This is no knock on Death Stranding 2. But like South of Midnight wasn't up for best soundtrack.
Dude, that's one of them. That's a bit of a head scratcher. Listen, I understand that it was made by a smaller team. Maybe the stop motion animation, maybe the claymation look is not for you. I totally understand that. Maybe the combat was a little underbaked, but you got to admit the voice acting and the sound, the music in that game is so incredible and it's authentic. Like they really went out of their way to make you feel like you were in that era, in that time. How about this? And I'm going to hand you back to Mike, and I apologize, but how is, oh my God, Keeper not nominated for anything? Did anyone play that game? Now, granted, I will admit I'm at the end. I haven't beaten it, and it's not because it does. I don't want to beat it. I'm playing a lot of games, but I'm going to sit down and play through that game from start to finish one day just to enjoy it. That game is stunning. Art design, that game should have been one of those games. The sound, one of the games. The music, one of those games. It didn't get anything, dude. Not even a nod.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. Like some of the nominations don't even make sense, right? Let's look at what's it? Best ongoing game, right? There's many ongoing games. Technically, shouldn't World of Warcraft always win? Right,
I mean, sure.
But like Keeper, not nominated at all for best art direction. How? Right? How?
I don't know.
Whole thing looks like it's been made of clay. Right? It's crazy. So like some of the awards don't make sense. Some awards are given off stage. Like, look, the Game Awards happens in a couple of weeks, right? When the show's happening, you'll notice several times during the show, he'll actually rapid fire off a couple of award wins, right? Best esports team on a Wednesday. He'll say this person, and he'll say like best esports coach without any person getting up on stage or any person getting up on the podium because the show is designed to generate money, right? Like that's why you see lots of sales during the show. And I'm not knocking Jeff for this. That's like, look, is the Jeff Keighley Game Awards a non-profit show? No. Nothing in this gaming space is. But like we have to call the Game Awards for what it is. It's an entertaining show. Sometimes it's a bit too long. And by the way, Jeff Keighley should really squash the Half-Life 3 rumors every single year it happens. Because he never denies it and it never happens.
Yeah.
And by the way, do you know like 3 years ago there was massive rumors that Half-Life 3 was going to be announced at the Game Awards. In fact, Jeff Keighley didn't acknowledge the rumors at all and just said, you need to watch tonight. And do you know what that one more thing was at the end of the show? It was the Fast and the Furious video game.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Vin Diesel came out on stage and that game tanks hard. But like that's why I think too many people need to like maybe let's not take the Game Awards that seriously. And like, look, last year Balatro was up for Game of the Year, a game made by one person, an indie game that's a card game, right? Millions of people loved that game. good on the developer for having such success, right? However, how can a game be nominated for Game of the Year but not win Best Indie Game of the Year? Right? Just stuff like that. It doesn't make sense. So that's just me. I'm going to watch the show. I'm sure it's going to be entertaining. And look, I'm going to be watching for the trailers. Right? Yes, it does start at 1 a.m. my time. My God. But I'll be watching for the new trailers. But look, Microsoft, they did get a few snubs. Look, Arc Raiders, like I said, got snubbed. A bunch of games got snubbed. And it's kind of par for the course these days. And it's expected. And the thing is, we're going to see the exact same thing this time next year. I will put this out there, though. If I remember correctly, doesn't GTA technically miss the mark next year?
It does. Absolutely. So, yeah, you're not the first person. As a matter of fact, I think Dirk Griggity on the WG podcast, which, by the way, shout out to Joey in the chat and the rest of those guys. I always use their podcast to help me clean on Tuesdays, which is what I did today, and I did the wash. So, yeah, real things, folks. Outside of podcasting and game playing, I actually do housework. But, yeah, they actually made mention of it on the podcast where GTA is, in fact, by the numbers, is going to miss the Game Awards. But I have a feeling that they're going to be comblaged into the Game of the Year and 19 categories.
Yeah. So I bet that Jeff Keighley next year will slightly move the needle just to let GTA be available. Because look, if GTA wins Game of the Year next year, which we all think is going to happen, right? Like if GTA makes it, it's going to win regardless, unless Half-Life 3 comes out. But like GTA is a guaranteed win without anyone playing it, right? And if that gets in, that means they'll have changed the rules for a video game. So a year from now, I want people to remember this. If they move it, something's fishy going on. But that's just my take.
And it's a good take. I think that they are going to move it. I really do. I believe that it could probably come out the week of the Game Awards in December. It can come out December 9th, and they would somehow shoehorn it in. Reach out to everybody. We got 24 hours. We got to revote everything. GTA wins it all. I'm just saying. I'm being facetious, of course, folks, but it could happen. It's probably going to happen. We'll see. I'm excited for the Game Awards. I am excited for what trailers are going to be shown, of course, because that's what a lot of us watch it for. As a content creator, to be honest, I'm very excited to see the story of Sandfall and Kepler Interactive see their story come to fruition. I know that in the RPG of the year, that's one of them. And of course, you have Avowed and The Outer Worlds. Now, Expedition 33 is not my game of the year, and that's on me because I didn't complete it. I have to put more time into it, and maybe it would be. Right now, for me, as someone who's an Obsidian fanboy, and I actually love that studio. It's one of my favorite studios in all of gaming, to be honest with you. They have 2 games this year that I played, and I loved every second of it. So I'm kind of like in a conundrum, but I ultimately, as a creator, and not a creator of games, just a creator of content, I'm very excited to see how Expedition 33 plays out with the wins, because I honestly believe that they're going to sweep every nomination that they got. They're going to win that category. I really believe it. And I think that Game of the Year is a lock for Expedition 33. I really do. And I hope it does play out that way for a couple of reasons. And then we'll get everybody out of here because we're at the 90-minute mark. But why I want to see them sweep is because if you just take the time to listen to their story and have some of their developers and voice actors, you listen to how that game came together, it shouldn't work. It just really shouldn't. And somehow it's one of the most nominated games ever. That's a really big deal. And I think what it also does for the community and gaming, game design, is it proves that you don't need to spend $300 million on a game for it to be good, sell well, and win awards. Now, obviously, I'm not specifically singling out any one platform, but this is a double A game. And it's, again, their story is special. It just really, really is. And it's one of those stories that as a creator myself, I want to see them win it all because in Jamie, you said it when this was first announced, what did people say to you? Just another turn RPG from a French studio that I didn't know about. And now everybody is like in awe of what they were able to do. So for that, it's one of the reasons why I want to see them win it all. But I hope that they sweep every freaking category that they're in. And I think I'm not the only one. But ladies and gentlemen, let me just catch up with. I don't know why people keep asking me if I have legs. Of course I have legs. I'm just sitting down. Rick L, what are you doing, sir? Let me just catch up. There was a super chat in here from, actually two more. So Will the Broke Boy Insider drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Xbox first party released 13 games since December 24th. 6 of those got TGA announced nominations. PlayStation fanboys say quality over quantity. Xbox has quantity and quality. I mean, look, you're right. He's talking about Indiana Jones. So from December of Indiana Jones to right now, it's been the baker's dozen, and I think that we're going to get Fallout 3 right before the next season of Fallout. That's just my take. Again, it's just a take. I don't know how you can argue that Xbox Game Studios put out unqualified games. Like I just think you're being a troll. Like you may listen, of the 13 games that Will is talking about since December of last year, maybe not every one of those games is for you. Hell, maybe half of those games, maybe 7 of those games aren't for you. But I guarantee you 6 are. And I just think anyone that is going to try to sell you their opinion on these games not being quality, they need to be put on the pay no mind list. Block them, mute them, don't talk to them. Don't feed the trolls, ladies and gentlemen. And we also have here a super chat from Mac22, who drops a very generous $5 super chat. Mac goes on to say, Jamie, other than a boom saying he liked the game DS or Death Stranding, nobody is talking about it. Same with Yotai. Nobody's talking about these games. Hashtag Pony Awards. I mean, are people really talking about it? Not well, Ghost of Yotai really kind of fell off the map. It came out and people played it. We just learned that they sold 3.3 million, which is really good. The game is profitable for Sony Interactive Entertainment, which is excellent because you never want to see a studio go out of business. The game cost only, and I'm not being funny here, it only cost 60 million, and that is low for Sony, especially for a game that game is stunning. I'm sorry. If you like Ghost of Tsushima, you're going to probably love this game, which I'm going to buy it when I can get it on sale. I cannot actually wait to play it. But they only spent 60 million to make the game. It's a $70 game, 76.43 with tax. It's a first party game. They're collecting. It's only on one platform. They're collecting 100% of the profits. It's a profitable game for them. So it's a win for Sony. Does it deserve to be in every category for the awards? That's half this, half that. That's up to you. But yeah, nobody was really talking about Ghost of Yotai. I think some of the negativity about how they changed the protagonist from Jin to to the female, which I don't have a problem with. I just think that I would have liked to continue Jin's story, but I don't think that the new protagonist there's anything wrong with her at all, to be honest with you. And Death Stranding, I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know if it's sold. It probably sold as well as the original. I mean, again, I'm only going based on my brother. He loved every second of it, and I will play through that game when it comes to Xbox. So you're not wrong. They weren't talking about it, but they are both gorgeous games. They're technical achievements. They both deserve to be in some of the categories. Do I believe that they're worth 19 nominations compared to what Xbox put out this year? I would have to push back a little on that. But Mac, you are 100% right. I didn't see a lot of conversation for either of these two games outside of it having high meta scores. And once that was done, no one talked about it. But Jamie, let's sell the brand. Are you you obviously have a show later this evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Logan Meyer for the new All Things Xbox podcast, where, folks, if you didn't know, Jamie usually has as much as 17 topics. I don't know how you do it, but listen, it's a fun show. Him and Logan put on a great 2-hour show. You should definitely check it out. And you should be subscribed to the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel. Sell the podcast, brother. Where can people tune in this evening? And more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, thanks, Boom. It's always a pleasure. So my YouTube channel is the Elusive Gamer. I exclusively cover Xbox. I try to talk about Mass Effect at any given opportunity. All Things Xbox podcast is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, where we cover everything in the Xbox space. And yeah, we do have sometimes 17 or more topics. A 2-hour show. It's always lighthearted, always fun over there. So if people want to join, it's greatly appreciated. Still growing the channel. And on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Was wanting to hit it by the end of the year. Hopefully I do. But anyway, yeah, so the podcast is at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight on the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel. I also do Twitter with Jamie Man UK, where it's exclusively gaming and jokes.
Yeah, do me a favor. Before we get on out of here, Ryu in the chat, 5626 is asking for a link. So if you have a link to your YouTube channel, just throw it into the chat, Jamie, before we get out of here so they can copy and paste and subscribe to your YouTube channel. So just do that before we get on out of here. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. 3 topics. I am going to cut this down and make at least 2 videos later this evening. This will be up on SoundCloud and all of your favorite streaming services later this afternoon. As soon as it loads up onto YouTube, I download it, I make it into an MP3, and I throw it onto all of the podcast services. I don't get anything from them. I just do it because a lot of people don't like watching on YouTube. They'll watch via the MP3. So definitely check that out. Thank you. Spittin13 had dropped actually says the Elusive Gamer, love your podcast, cannot wait. Thank you so much. UK Dazarus. Oh my God, brother. How the heck are you? Dazzy, my brother from another. This is Mr. Racer. Daz, it's great to see you in the chat. I hope that you are doing well with the family. And shout out to everybody in the chat. I mean, honestly, you don't have to be here, and you guys and gals are here every day when we do the show, and we appreciate the support. And Jamie, of course, will appreciate anybody subscribing to help him get to 10K, because he definitely puts in the work for sure and is deserving of it. But ladies and gentlemen, no problem, Sin. Shout out to you for being here, brother, and thank you for dropping a knowledge bomb, if you will. Shout out to Brothers Grimm. Nice to see you here as well. Folks, that's going to do it for us here. Again, if you'd like the podcast, please share it on the socials. If you don't want to share it, that's fine. At least hit the like button. I would definitely be very grateful for that. And of course, for Jamie Moran and myself, we want to wish everybody a great gaming day. I am going to go work out now, and then when I'm done, play some Black Ops 6. And I didn't get my workout in this morning, but I am going to definitely throw around those weights now. But have a great evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.